What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of See It Like Strev. It was another great week of games. We had 2 games decided on the final field goal. More quarterbacks are balling. The MOP race is heating up. We'll get into that. High quality football. But you know what I got to stand on the table for to start? 3rd and 1, the wedge. It continues to be a huge topic around the league. These are game-changing plays, and you're seeing the juxtaposition between the teams that aren't taking it seriously and the teams that are. There's teams that are losing games on 3rd and 1. It happened a couple times this weekend. You've also got another team in the West, in Regina, who's taking it seriously. Their guy has 3 touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. I'm just saying these are massive plays that are changing games. These are winning teams' games, and they're losing teams' games. And I can't say enough about what that means for teams. Let's get into this week's slate of games because I'm gonna stop talking about the wedge. We'll get into it when we get to that game. But Thursday night, we had Calgary going to Toronto. Toronto's first home game of the season. Toronto pulls it out 33-30. And what I love to see first and foremost is Toronto. It looked like a pretty decent crowd. Sometimes, just speaking candidly, you go to Toronto, you don't know what you're getting. It might be a little bit dead. They seem to get some fans in the building. Looked like there was 16,000. I'd love to see if Toronto can push that number to 20, 22, 25,000. You're in a big city. It's crazy to think that we can't get 20,000. So I'm going to keep standing on the table for those guys to get more fans to their football games. And I love what their club did. $40 all you can eat in the upper deck. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? $40 all you can eat in the upper deck. Now we sweeten the pot, make that all you can drink. I think we might make that upper deck completely packed for next week, but I digress. I can't believe Toronto pulled this game out. I mean, they gave Calgary all the chances in the world. And really, again, to piggyback on what I said in the intro, it came down to a 3rd and 1. For whatever reason, Calgary got it to 3rd and 1 in the 4th quarter late in the game. They end up going in shotgun and handing the football off, and they get stuffed. I don't understand why they didn't wedge the ball there. Quincy Vaughn is one of the best wedge guys in the league. They are a team that has traditionally done very well in those wedge situations, and they've taken it seriously. They've invested in a guy who has kind of made that his role. So to me, that decision didn't make a lot of sense. I don't quite get it. They end up getting stuffed, giving the ball back to Toronto. Toronto hits a big play down the sideline and ends up kicking a game-winning field goal to walk it off. Chad Kelly goes for 349 yards, which it seems like it's a lock for him to go for 300 yards every game. But the question is he going to make smart decisions with the football? He throws 4 interceptions in this game. And it's insane that a team with a quarterback who threw 4 picks ends up winning, but they end up finding a way to do it. Their special team. Shout out to Janarian Grant. This guy has been doing it for so long. I mean, since 2019, before I even left the CFL, he was cribbing kicks. He's been doing it for 7, 8 years in the CFL, being the best guy, and he continues to generate massive plays on special teams for Toronto. He ends up cribbing a kick, and when you throw a pick 6 on offense, but your special teams is able to generate a touchdown, those things kind of cancel out. So that's the one thing about Chad Kelly is can he continue to make good decisions with the football? Toronto has a very explosive offense. There's no doubt about it. Like I said, he's throwing for over 300 yards. It seems like almost every single game. But if he can make good decisions with the football, that team's going to have a chance. But the one thing I will say about Chad Kelly is he never loses confidence. You watch him continue to play, he is still slinging the ball around the field, even into the 4th quarter, even after he's thrown 4 interceptions. So shout out to Chad Kelly just not losing confidence in those situations, getting the ball back after their defense makes a big stop, being able to lead his football team down and go win the game. What I love to see from Toronto was they got their run game going a little bit. They rushed for over 100 yards, and I've been kind of saying, not just for Toronto, but for a lot of these teams in the league, if they can find some balance offensively, it helps out their defense. It slows the game down a little bit, and it's going to help out your offense in the RPO and the play action game. They were able to do that again, rushing for over 100 yards as a team. The Vernon Adams interception streak has come to an end. And when I look at Calgary, it's frustrating. Like I see Calgary, they're this 500 team. They're trending in the right direction. They go drop 52 on Winnipeg. They're making big wins. They're in these dogfights with Montreal. And then you go lose that game. And I know you say what you want. You got to go in the East and play it in Toronto. It's a long flight, all that. But man, the opposing team gives you 4 interceptions. You got to find a way to win. But you give the ball back on a 3rd and 1. You turn the ball over a couple times on offense. You give up a special teams touchdown, and that's the great equalizer. And then at the end of the game, it just comes down to Toronto having the ball last, and put together a couple nice plays to go kick a field goal, but we see what Calgary can be. And to me, that's a team that can compete in the West when they're at their best, but when they're at their worst, like they probably were against Toronto, you go lose to Toronto. So I still think Calgary is a very dangerous team in the West with their defense, with their defensive line. They got 4 interceptions. They took the ball away 4 times, but they just got to put it all together. And you saw what can happen against Winnipeg, who I think Winnipeg is still a good football team. They've got the opportunity to go get back on track next weekend against Ottawa, but when they put it together, they're dangerous. When they're not, they go lose to Toronto. So I think that they've just got to find that consistency, and if they do, they'll be a dangerous team in the West. But shout out to Toronto, getting back to 500. You're fighting for a home playoff game in the East, and they're sitting at second in the East right now, which is a great position to be in at this point in the season. Jumping over to Friday, Ottawa going to Sask. Sask wins 42-20. Sask steps up and avoids the trap game at home. We talked about it going into this week, coming off a huge win in Edmonton last week. Are you going to have a letdown against Ottawa coming into your building with key guys out? Key guys on defense, key guys on offense being out, and they were able to avoid that. Trevor Harris gets to 40,000 yards passing for his career. 40,000. Only 12 guys in the history of this league have done that. Man, the sheriff, the way he still distributes the ball around the field and just does it at such a high level. It's fun to watch him play football and process information. Keyshawn Johnson stepping up in a big way with Key and Schaefer Baker and Emelis both out, 2 of their other top receivers. He stepped up big time for over 130 yards and a touchdown. And Johnny Johnson, a guy they signed late into camp or at the beginning of the season, he goes for over 100 yards. And he's a guy that's really played a role for this offense and in special teams in the return game at times. We were training together in Arizona this offseason. I specifically remember kind of asking him about what his plans were. He wasn't really sure, was kind of waiting on hearing from some teams. And to get a call late from a CFL football team and be able to go make the impact that he's making on that team, especially with guys down, shout out to Johnny Johnson, to have the mental resilience to stay in it, stay locked in. And I've seen it firsthand, the attitude that he has towards his work, the preparation, the work ethic. It's impressive, and I'm very impressed with what he's doing for the Saskatchewan football team right now. Sask moves into first in the West. They control their own destiny, and it just seems like they're on a crash course with Edmonton for that last regular season game for whoever's going to win the West. Looking at Ottawa, it's tough, man. I mean, again, Jake Mayer goes for over 300 yards. I don't think he's playing 0-8 football, but you just got to think that their season is somewhat over at this point. If you're Ottawa, you're kind of looking at, okay, who's going to continue to fight for my football team late into the season? Who can we build around next year and in future years? Those are the guys that are going to tell me that I want them in this building. I want to have those guys continue to be around my football team, the guys that aren't going to mail it in at this point in the year. It's a tough situation. Their defense just has not been able to get stops. Offensively, they have 0 run game. And it's something we've been standing on the table for all year saying, hey, Ottawa, you want some offensive balance. You want to be able to slow things down for your defense. Start running the football. And that's just something they have not been able to do. So for Ottawa's sake, I hope they can get it back on track. But at this point, we're looking at, can we build around some guys for next season? Going into the first game of our Saturday doubleheader, Edmonton goes to Montreal. Montreal wins in a convincing fashion, 48-30 straight up. Montreal is the best team in the league right now. I can say that confidently. To do what they just did against Edmonton, their offense looked explosive. Their defense took the ball away. Even their special teams, the one weakness of their team that we've been talking about, generates a big play with the block punt. Montreal showed us a 3-phase football game against one of the best teams in the league. We had Edmonton at number 1 in the power rankings 2 weeks ago. They just lost a dogfight to Sask. They've been through the ringer schedule-wise, but for Montreal to go do what they just did against Edmonton, I don't think anyone can have them as not the number 1 team in the league right now. Davis Alexander and Tyson Philpot, I said it on Twitter, but 1A and 1B for MOP right now, they are absolutely ridiculous. They show up week in and week out. Davis Alexander throws for 4 touchdowns, 345-plus yards. Philpot goes for over 130 and 3 touchdowns. Philpot with 3 touchdowns. The pace that he is on is absolutely ridiculous. I'd be shocked if NFL teams aren't calling their agents right now to say, hey, we got to get a look at these guys, at least for a workout after the season. I know Montreal fans are not going to be happy to hear me say that, but that's the truth. The way that those guys are playing, and it just looks like they're having fun doing it. And let's not forget about Tyler Snead. He's the guy that gets kind of forgotten about as an afterthought. He's playing at an all-star caliber level. He's going for 146 yards and a touchdown this week. And he's a guy that's just, I said it last week, but he just epitomizes what Montreal's team is about. A little bit of an undersized guy, not the fastest guy in the world, but man, he is tough. He catches the ball. He runs hard. He breaks tackles. He's the yak master, I called him last week. I love watching him go to work. And then let's talk about Travis Tice. He looks like the best running back in the game right now. Again, just a gritty, hard-nosed guy. I wonder where he got that from. University of South Dakota, go Yotes. But he rushes for 100 yards. And it's just unbelievable to see that offense coming together at the right time. And they're still going to get Jareth Stearns back at some point this season. Travis Tice also did some good things catching the ball out of the backfield. So just to see Montreal put it all together, they're showing what type of dangerous team that they can be. But there was a huge play before the half that I want to talk about. We talked about 3rd and 1s. Edmonton was driving down. They're on like the Montreal 20-yard line, about 35 seconds left. They settle for 3 on 3rd and 1. Again, going back, we just talked about it in the Toronto game. We just talked about it in this Edmonton game. They settle for 3. What does Montreal do? They get the ball, hit a massive play to Tyler Snead, and they go get 3 right back. I don't understand why teams are not investing in this wedge and putting confidence in their guys to say, let's go get a yard. They could have got 7. And you could see it on Fajardo's face. They showed it on the broadcast. He was not happy. He wanted to go. Their offense was rolling. And he understands playing a team like Montreal, settling for 3 in that situation is not going to be good enough. That's not going to get it done. And that's what they did. And you saw Montreal go and immediately make them pay and take advantage of that situation. So it's been a tough stretch of games for Edmonton. They beat Sask at home, in Sask barn, I should say. Then Sask goes to their place. They lose in a really tough one. Then they got to go to Montreal. They're going to be okay. Edmonton's still a very, very good football team, a very well-rounded football team. Their defense is still good, even though they just gave up a ton of yards to Montreal. I think they're still on a crash course with Sask in that last regular game of the season to be able to host a playoff game and potentially win the West. So I still like Edmonton. They've been through a rough stretch of games here. I still believe in them being able to get this thing back on track after a couple tough losses. In the last game of the weekend, Hamilton going to BC. BC pulls it out. They end up saving their season. BC gets to 3-5. When you're looking at the West, it's like Winnipeg's 4-4. Calgary just went to 4-5. BC's 3-5. They are right back in playoff contention in the West, and that's how quickly things can happen in the CFL. Looking at Hamilton, Harrison Frost makes his first career start. Hamilton's 4th starting quarterback this season. It is just so hard to have continuity offensively when you have a revolving door at the most important position on offense. He did some good things, but at the end of the day, I mean, first career start on the road against a team in BC who's trending in the right direction with what they just did against Winnipeg last week. That's a tough game. And shout out to BC. They brought a lot of pressure all night. They heated him up in his first career start, giving him some uncomfortable looks, making the pocket uncomfortable. And I thought he did a good job getting the ball out of his hands. But at the end of the day, giving different looks from defense is a great thing to do. Shout out to Mike Benavides. I know he's gotten some flack for that defense this season, but he did a great job adjusting and playing the game to attack the team that they were playing. And I thought that defense played an outstanding football game tonight. And I think BC is going to be a team that just makes a run in the playoffs. Like, they're going to make a run late in the season. They're going to put this thing together year in and year out. It seems like that's what happens. They just got Nathan Rourke back, and you can just see the spark that he gives that football team. You can see the pep in their step that they have when he's out there. It's just a different sense of urgency. Great to see McInnes back for BC, making an impact. So many big catches. You know, their offense has just been a little bit stagnant the last couple weeks in the passing game. So to see those guys get back involved, Hatcher, McInnes, those guys, it's exciting to see. And then having Xander Horvath toting the ball. They weren't quite as committed to the run game as they were last week, given the circumstances, but seeing him and James Butler get more involved and have them get more touches, I think that 18 or 20 touches combined, that's good to see. That's going to help BC keep balance in their offense. It's going to make teams respect the run game when it comes to their RPO and the play action game down the field. But at the end of the game, I got to talk about the clock management for Hamilton because they got the ball back. There was 6 seconds left, and they chose not to run a play and kick a 57-yard field goal. You could have ran a play. You could have thrown a stick route, a hitch, got down, and still had time to go kick a field goal. Instead, you settle for a 57-yarder. That's a tough field goal. That's a hard field goal to make, but as a team, I think there was more yards to be had there to put yourself in a little bit more of an advantageous position with special teams with making a more realistic kick there. So interesting clock management there at the end, but shout out to BC, essentially keeping themselves right in the thick of that third place race in the West, going to 3-5. Let's talk about the Seein It Award. You know, and I want to give an honorable mention here because Trevor Harris, the sheriff, balled out going for over 400 yards, but Davis Alexander, they made a statement. They made a statement against a team that we had at number 1 in the power rankings just 2 weeks ago. One of the best defensive in the league. They looked unstoppable. And what I love from Davis Alexander is he threw an interception kind of back across his body, an ill-advised throw. What did he do? He came right back and kept slinging the football. They did not slow down. Before halftime, they go down and steal 3 points from Edmonton, like we talked about, and he moves to 19-1 as his record in the regular season. 19-1, an all-time record in the CFL. Davis Alexander is not only one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but he is one of the best leaders in the league. It's so fun to watch him go out there and compete. That team looks like they're having fun, and he's seeing it as good as anybody in the league ever has. Davis Alexander, keep balling. You are absolutely seeing it, buddy. Let's look ahead to next week. We got some big games coming up. Thursday, we got BC going to Calgary. I'm very excited for this game. When we talk about the standings in the West and the way these two teams are trending, BC's headed like this. Big win against Winnipeg. They go win against Hamilton at home. Nathan Rourke's back. Calgary goes and drops kind of a tough one at Toronto. They're probably saying, man, we kind of let one get away. So two teams going in opposite directions. But if BC goes and wins this game, they're going to go ahead and leapfrog Calgary in the West, which is kind of crazy to think about given where we were all thinking about BC being. They're going to be right back in the playoff race if they can go win this game. This is a big game for them. And Calgary, they need to establish the run again and go protect the football on offense, and they'll be just fine because that defensive line is nasty. Their defensive backs, they take the football away. That offense just needs to play clean enough to let their defense go to work, take care of the football, and big play VA just get back to what he was doing earlier on in the season. Friday night, I'll be back up in Winnipeg. Cannot wait to get back up there and see the fans. I'm bringing my family up, got my fiance, my daughter coming up, so they're very excited. I'll be back on the call with CJOB, so looking forward to getting out there with those guys again. But Winnipeg's coming off the bye, and it feels like that bye week just came at just the right, perfect time after a tough couple games. Even that game in Ottawa that they pulled out, that was tough. Then they go lose to Calgary at home, lose to BC at home. Let's all step back, take a deep breath, look in the mirror and say, what can I fix? How can I be better for this football team? And I think that they've done that just talking to some guys in that locker room. But this feels like a must win. I mean, they're about to get in the meat of their schedule. They're going to play Edmonton. They're going to play Sask back-to-back. They're going to play Montreal. They have some really, really tough games coming up. They got to go win this one at home versus Ottawa, especially in front of their home crowd, a crowd that has showed them so much love and support, continuing to sell out games. You got to go show out for those fans, and I'm excited to be there for that game. Like I said, this season for Ottawa right now, it kind of feels like a wash, but can they find guys to buy in? Can they find a way to go play winning football and piece this thing together? Like, you can go on a run and maybe you can do it, but at the end of the day, that front office and that coaching staff has got to be looking at who are some guys that we can build around moving forward, going into Winnipeg in a hostile environment, who's going to continue to fight and show up for us. Saturday night, first game of our Saturday doubleheader, we got Toronto going to Edmonton. Edmonton, again, looking to get back on track after a couple tough losses. They're back at home. I'd love to see those fans get back and pack Commonwealth because that was just so awesome to see on TV. Hearing that environment, it looked absolutely electric. If Toronto turns the ball over like they did against Calgary, straight up, Edmonton's going to win. You know, you just cannot do that against good football teams and continue to win football games. And they've done that a couple times this year. But I'm excited to see that Toronto offense versus the Edmonton defense. Edmonton defense got to get back on track after that Montreal game. Toronto offense, can they take care of the ball? They're obviously explosive. They show flashes, but they got to do it consistently. That's going to be a great matchup for two teams that Edmonton trying to stay right in first place in the West, kind of right in that race, and then Toronto trying to keep hold of a home playoff game at second in the East. And then our last game of the weekend is going to be Sask going to Hamilton. Hamilton's just searching for an identity on offense, trying to stay in this East race again. A couple games back at Toronto. But again, the revolving door quarterbacks made it tough. I'm assuming they're going to roll with Harrison Frost again. I didn't think he played that bad. And again, you've kind of already rolled through your whole roster. So he's your guy you're rolling with. Sask, they're leading the West right now. Trevor Harris, he is leading those boys. Even with guys injured, they continue to show up and just are so consistent. And I love what they're doing with Tommy Stevens, allowing him to get loose in wedge situations, allowing him to grind out the clock at the end of football games and really make a statement for their team. And I think that's helping them establish a real identity on offense of, hey, we can throw the ball around with Trevor Harris, but at the end of the day, we're going to grind you out in these short yardage situations. At the end of the game, don't let us have the ball because we will give it to our big guy, and it's going to be Tommy time. We're going to get downhill on you. So shout out to Keyshawn Johnson. Shout out to Johnny Johnson stepping up for that football team, making plays with a couple of their big receivers down. I'm excited to see how that game plays out if Sask can continue to stay with a lead over Edmonton in that West Division race. Look, things are starting to align. We're halfway through the season. I can't believe we're already halfway through the season, but this is a league of ebbs and flows, guys. I keep saying this in the media. Now that I'm stepping into this media world, I'm realizing everyone just hits the panic button. Everyone rides this roller coaster. This league is all about who gets hot at the right time, who is playing their best football down the stretch. So there's still a lot more football to be played, and it's all going to be about who gets hot at the right time. Right now, the East looks like a one-man race. If Montreal can stay healthy, they are the best team in the league, but the West is going to be an absolute dogfight down the stretch, and I just can't wait to see how it all plays out. So, guys, thank you so much for your love and support. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I just want to say, there's some really exciting news coming from me here very soon. So stay on the lookout for that. I'm excited for all the things that I'm building right now in this broadcast lane and this media lane through social media content. And I just want everyone to know, if you've made it this far in the video, how much I appreciate your support. Like, comment, subscribe. If you guys leave comments, you know I'm going to get back to you because I want to engage with you guys, and I appreciate all the love and support. So keep it coming. We are just getting started on this journey. There is so much more exciting stuff to be coming this year in the CFL and in the NFL. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And as always, that's how you see it like Strev.